The reason why there's so many Indians living in English-speaking countries right now, or taking over English-speaking countries, like let's take a look at Australia and Canada. What do those two countries have in common? Unaffordable housing. Why do they have unaffordable housing in these two countries? Because of Chinese communists laundered money. I can't speak for Australia, but I know there's trillions laundered through Australian real estate, leaving middle class completely helpless and bought out and creating artificial shortages in the whole 9 yards and bidding wars. Canada went through the exact same thing. Canada from 2010 to 2024 laundered roughly $2.2 to $2.6 trillion in the Canadian housing market, creating artificial shortages, bidding wars, and first-time homebuyer loans and supply and demand issues. So what happened? Well, the Canadian government in 2020, stated that we got to fix our housing crisis. So what did they do? We started covering this back in 2019, 2020, that they were bringing in people from India. They were selling people in India a dream of Canada. Come on over, make your money, become Canadian, love our culture, come over here, easy to make money, buy real estate. That was the number one thing they were advertising was, come and buy a condo in Toronto, come and buy a condo in Vancouver, come to Calgary, live the life. And a lot of people in India bought it hook, line, and sinker and came over to Canada for a better life. But a lot of people don't understand that the reason for the Indian culture or the Indians moving to Canada in big numbers was to cover and to protect Chinese communist money laundering. So the government of Canada realized that the Canadian proper or even the Australian proper could not get into their own real estate markets anymore. They had a really tough time competing with Chinese criminals with money laundering. And we're talking about $2.2 to $2.6 trillion. That's bigger than all of Canada's GDP. That's tied into real estate, not to mention the fentanyl, the Chinese gangs, the whole 9 yards. And now they sprinkle in a ton of Indians to try and make up that deficit, that housing maybe get picked up, right? And then they don't hire, and then they subsidize wages for these people to allow them to continue with employment through corporations or with subsidized wages for Indians. So the Canadians are double, triple, quadruple down. Chinese came in, outbid them in real estate, and then the Indians came in and got the subsidized wages from governments. And that's why when you go around and you see homelessness, you rarely see an Indian or a Chinese homeless person. Because those guys obviously get they didn't build anything in the country. They didn't do a damn thing to build the infrastructure. But they were given the country. Mike Martins here. I have spoken.